Let's get this show on the road.
Okay, it's 8:40. We are back from our break, and we are on agenda item number 11, the contract award for the PV Drive West tieback design project. I'm assuming that's you, Mr. Loriso.
Good evening again, Mayor, members of the council. This particular project has been on the CIP for a little while. The wall that is in question was originally constructed back in 2010. And this wall is on PV Drive West, just north of the intersection with Via Montemar and south of Paseo del Mar. So there's a little stretch in there that it's a straightaway where Mayor Pro Tem Lozzi, I think we were talking the other day, the bluffs, Bluff Cove. Anyway, I'm hoping that rings a bell to where. Anyway, this wall was constructed back in 2010, finished then, and in 2022 there were some concerns, or around that time there were some concerns about the wood lagging that was constructed along with the wall, that it was deteriorating. So the city hired GMU to go out and investigate, and made a determination. They provided council with 3 different recommended options of repair or mediation. Council went ahead and provided direction on which one to proceed with. Staff went ahead and put together an RFP for this work, and this work that we are looking to select NV5 for is the design of the repairs to the wall, not the construction, just the design part. Additionally, Luann with MV5 is here in the audience. She can answer any questions you may have as well.
Thank you. I have one question. So when I looked at the price quote in the bid, it showed that $50,000, or roughly 25% of the requested funds, are for, after the design is done, for the contractor to make any necessary clarifications on their PS&E and provide assistance for the RFP of the construction phase. Don't we typically have HR Green handle our RFP? So I'm wondering, are we over consulting on the construction phase RFP?
Well, we would really rely on the specialist when it comes to these types of projects. Yes, HR Green does prepare and manage the RFP process and will oversee everything, but we do rely on the technical expertise that is put together by the consultant that's selected.
Got it, thank you. Okay. Anyone else, questions? Okay, is there any public comment on this item? Nobody's raising their hand. All right, let's bring it back to council. Do I have a discussion? If not, do I have a motion?
Well, I would move that we, or was anyone else going to say anything? Oh, sorry. Let's see. I move that we adopt the resolution 2450, R2450, to award professional services agreement to NV5 for the design of the structural repairs, which is project number PW704-23, in an amount not to exceed $199,220. Approve additional expenditures not to exceed $20,000, which is 10% of the contract amount, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract documents in final form and format as approved by the city attorney.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Mayor Pro Tem Lozzi, second by Councilmember McGowan. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion carries. Moving right along. Number 12, let's talk about rejection of the storm drain master plan proposals. Thank you for sitting through all of that. I guess it's good, you're, thank you. I guess it's you again, Steve.
Okay, just wanted to wait. So this item is considering the rejecting all proposals received for the storm drain master plan. So this project was added into the CIP in about 2022 at the suggestion of the city manager, based on not knowing what the storm drain system was like. The purpose of this project was to prepare a master plan to identify citywide system of storm drain and to develop a plan for the future improvements, kind of like the PMP, Pavement Management Program. After review of the proposals by a selection committee that we formed, the highest ranked firm's fee was opened, with the proposed fee approximately 50% higher than what was budgeted. Staff identified areas, subsequently, staff has identified areas of immediate concern related to storm damage within the storm drain system, and is suggesting that that be considered by council for future projects if this is considered to be rejected. That's my presentation, and I'm here for any questions.
I have
Thank you.
a couple questions. What were the proposals that came in? Was it for storm or sanitary sewer?
This was for storm drain. The sanitary sewer one was started by SOMAS about 2 months ago, but this was just for storm drains.
This is running the cameras through the system and understanding the condition of the infrastructure. Is that correct?
Well, this particular part, or this particular project, does not involve CCTV of the storm drain systems. The purpose of doing this is to develop basically what the city has, developing hotspots where there's flooding, where we don't have enough capacity, and then figuring out, well, as well as the age of the system, then figuring out where things should be videoed. Because if we were to just video the entire system, it would be about $750,000 based on what some of the quotes we've been receiving.
I understand the idea of utilizing the funds for more immediate needs and short-term needs, but what I'm focused on is the understanding the long-range impact to the community and having a plan that will address the needs going into the future. And what we'd be doing, if I understand this correctly, is kicking that can down the road and focusing in on the $500,000 or whatever we're talking about on repairs that are immediately required.
Correct.
So, in your professional judgment, is this something that we need to keep on the horizon as far as one of the capital needs of our community as we look forward the next 4, 5, 10 years?
Yes, absolutely.
And if I understand you correctly, the numbers that we need to be building into our thought process or the CIP plan and so forth into some future years are more significant dollars than we had anticipated in the past.
That's correct.
So it's not all good news, but...
No, and doing this plan, you're right. It just like the other plans that you've authorized, the sewer master plan, that will help guide you for the next 10 years and beyond. The storm drain system needs that as well, but with the cost that it was being provided, we wanted to provide that option to council to see how best to address this.
Well, I understand that, and I think that's appropriate, but what I also want to make sure that we build into our cash flow requirements the need to do this kind of study in the not too far distant future, because we don't know what additional problems we're going to be faced with, and we don't have the cash available. We've got to start figuring out how we're going to raise that cash.
And if I may, as a suggestion too, that we will keep this on the CIP. It's a matter of just, we will have to revisit it and identify the correct or an increased cost for it based on what we've heard.
Well, I like keeping it on the CIP. That's great. And I also like the idea of updating it with your best judgment as to what the dollars are going to be required to do the study whenever it is done, assuming $24. Does that make any sense?
Understood, yeah.
And I think part of it, too, it sounds like, is making sure we're clear on what the study's going to be, right? If from what I'm hearing from you, Steve, is we're not video CCTVing everything. We will figure out what it is, what the system is, figure out where we need to do targeted things, but just making sure that we're all kind of clear on what's going to happen.
Madam Mayor, may I add just something to that about the CCTV?
Yes.
The whole point of this, there is this thought that doing the CCTV just solves all the problems. It doesn't. It just tells you where the issues are where the pipe needs to be fixed. That doesn't tell you if your system is adequate. That just says, okay, there's a failure there, there's a failure there, this one, that pipe is going bad. The whole system needs to be analyzed, and the CCTV is just a very, very small component.
Just like for the sewers, right? That's
Exactly.
part of what they're doing. They're doing kind of load testing and all of
Correct.
that.
Yeah, I just wanted to make that clear.
Yeah, I think there was a past city manager who talked about how we need to CCTV all of this, and I think that just kind of stuck in everyone's brain, and
What I would encourage you to do in your CIP analysis is, if there are various levels or milestones that we need to consider, that they be articulated and take advantage of the knowledge that we have received from these various proposals.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
Because if I hear you correctly, we may need to put up $750,000 in today's dollars in there at some point in time, but that's only one piece of a multi-step process.
Yeah, correct.
And we've got to start thinking longer term, and what the cash flow requirements are going to be, or we're going to have surprises that we can't fund,
Well, we're already
just
having
like the
surprises.
ones now.
Yeah, and you have to realize too that a lot of the system was built by the county back in maybe the 50s and the 60s, and a lot of corrugated metal pipe was used, and that
Isn't,
it's not there anymore.
no.
So
So how long do you think we can go before we really need to do the storm drain master plan? It's like 1 or 2 years, 5 years?
I think as soon as you can budget, the intent really was to get this done.
Yes.
Because that will help you. The CCTV, again, was just a very small component, and even if you didn't do that, you still need to do the program itself, the master plan. Because we're finding issues throughout the city that we didn't know there was a flooding issue there. And the only way we're going to find that stuff out is a 100-year storm, similar to what we had back in February, or a master plan. And there's costs involved with each part of that, whether it's a claim or the preparation of a master plan. So, I'm
So I
sorry.
guess I'm kind of, sorry, going back to maybe your original point, I mean, is this a mistake to abandon the proposals on the master plan, and should we just suck it up and figure out a way to fund the master plan?
Well, I think we need to hear more about the emergency needs of the $500,000 or whatever it is now. But I agree with you, Victoria, that we cannot prolong this. And if we can get it started, the sooner we get it done, the better. I am concerned, though, about what these other emergency repairs are that, I want to talk about that.
Yeah, because I guess I'm feeling like, okay, here, let's take that money and let's put it toward these repairs that we know we need to. It's like, okay, well,
because-
what repairs? What are you talking about? And then if you weigh the two, and I'll say, well, okay, do I really need, are those repairs critical today, or am I better off to come up with the extra funding for the master plan?
Well, it's an excellent question, and I don't have the answer, but
Yeah. What's the answer, boys, men, gentlemen? Sorry.
So I want to clarify. I think Steve, help me, correct me if I'm wrong, is the staff recommendation to reject the proposals was initially based on the costs that came in and a disconnect on CCTV. There was a.
That's correct.
And I heard the mayor even say it was kind of in our head, and so there was some concern there. As that was coming forward, I was brought out to a location on the border, what do you guys call it?
Boundary trail.
Yeah,
Border
the bridal trail, yeah.
It's massively washed out there, so much so that I'm concerned when I saw it. I think some of you might have seen some pictures, but you have to see it for yourself.
I've been there.
Yeah, it's bad, and it needs to be addressed probably yesterday. None of us even knew about it. I don't really know where it was in the city hall's look. There's a street, I won't name it, that having a big problem right now.
Yep.
There's
Sewer problem?
no, it's
Storm drain.
storm drain problem.
Storm drain, okay.
There's a couple more that got caution tape around it that I saw. I'm like, what's that? I'm like, why aren't we addressing that? So, and then we have what happened in Lunada Bay during the storm. So those are the areas that so it was kind of at the same time. It was like, well, we're going to reject this. And we just sort of felt like this money could be better spent on some of these big concerns. Knowing we still
Have you
to do this down
scoped
the-
those out and priced those out?
No, this is 2 weeks old for us.
So let's see.
I was out there 2 weeks ago.
You know, I don't have a major concern about maybe deferring it if we need to clean up and get a better understanding of these bids, but I think it needs to be in the next fiscal year's plan that we address and start thinking more prospectively. Right now, we've got so many issues going on in the city, and I don't want another Malaga Cove water situation to raise its ugly head that we're not prepared for.
The three that I mentioned to just now, and we really haven't even sat down and identified or listed them or costed them out, from my non-engineer's perspective, are big and need to be addressed.
I'm not an engineer too, but I see it as big.
Yeah.
And I play one on TV, and it's big.
Okay, oh my God.
So I have a question about kind of our overall RFP process, because this has come up a couple of times, and I still need to look at that meeting. I forgot that I needed to look at that meeting we talked about. But, you know, in the original staff report, there was a statement that you were, like, it was talking about the lowest cost responsible bid, and then in the revised staff report, it talks about the highest ranked firm and the cost associated with that, and that made me think that those were two different firms, which may be, but my recollection was, we've had conversations in the past about whether or not, kind of what the process is, when you're allowed to open the bids, whether cost is part of the evaluation criteria. Not that I would go only with lowest cost, because if they don't do a good job. But have we made any modifications to our RFP process and kind of rating criteria that allow us to open all bids and put that into as part of the evaluation?
Yeah, actually, with the city attorney's help.
Okay, great. Awesome.
Stay over there, Trevor. You're
Take the
okay.
win. Take the win. Move on.
Take the
Take the win. Take the win and move
Okay.
on.
I just wanted to clarify, though, there's two different things. There's the professional services process, the request for proposals, and then there's the request for bids, RFBs. The request for proposals for professional services, that is not done based on fee. It is the process, and Trevor's helped us add some language within the current RFPs that we have going out to allow us more flexibility.
Okay.
The contracts that we award for construction, the RFBs, those are always to the lowest responsible.
Right. I understand that. The other thing that I have is, I thought I heard you say that if we CCTV'd the entire storm drain system, that would be $750,000. Is that on top of the master plan? I'm just
Yes.
trying to make.
Yes.
So that would be on top of? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. And then my last question is, because I read in the staff report, you talk about these immediate needs and coming back to council. What's the timeline? When do you think you'll have your arms around what that list is and what's needed, and kind of a prioritization of the order of attack?
I don't have an exact time frame on that, but what I will share with you is that there are certain locations we already have pavement dips, not sinkholes or failures, but there's dips. And we know that there's storm drains in those areas. And so we are working to have those areas videoed, because we want to see what the issue is there. Additionally, we don't have plans for every single location, so we don't know what kind of what pipe we're dealing with, what type, what size. So we're trying to do that first. So that is likely to start probably in the next month, because we've been researching some quotes with different vendors on that. So once we get that stuff put together, and we're trying to develop cost estimates now for the Torrance Boundary Trail, as well as other items that we have, Lunata Bay that you were talking about. So
Well, that's what I was going to say. So for the ones that you know you need to work on, you're already starting to develop those, and then the ones where you're like, oh, that looks a little sketch, you've got a plan to at least investigate and determine if there's...
Can you just list out what those 3 or 4 areas are?
Via Las Vegas is the one that stands out in my mind, because that one, in fact, our public works inspector, he's bugged me 3 or 4 times about it, saying, we've got to do something, we've got to do something. And that's...
This is the one Kerry was saying that he visited? That was
on the Torrance Boundary Trail, actually.
I saw the
That's the boundary. Oh, what's this other one?
Via Las Vegas.
Oh, Vegas.
Like in
Las
front of the
Vegas.
school?
Actually, I think it's just as you're going towards the trail. I could be wrong. It's just because I've seen so many different areas. Another one that we actually are working into the current pavement rehab project is over here on PV Drive West, where we've noticed that you're driving in the towards the west, and there's a big dip there, and we've identified that there is likely a storm drain line over there. The other areas I could identify, I just don't have them readily available, but we do have 5 or 6 locations that we're going to be videoing.
Yeah, I think it would be helpful, Kerry, if you shared those 5 or 6 locations with the council, just so we have an awareness of where these potential trouble spots are.
Well, I think one of them is the storm drain at Paseo Lunado, right, where we have to kind of redirect, because, I mean, rains are a-coming.
But didn't you already do that one? Paseo Lanado, didn't we fix that? Oh, I thought we fixed it.
That's the big block.
So I guess for me, this, I feel like this, we're talking about 2 different things. We're talking about the storm drain master plan, and then we're talking about lots of repairs that need to happen. And you're trying, storm drain repairs that need to happen. And that's 2 different things. And so I hesitate. I guess I would rather see us, extend the timeline of this RFP than reject the RFP, reject the proposals now, 6 months from now say, oh yeah, hey, now we're ready to do it, and, and have to do the whole, we struggle with people, keep it live, don't reject it, because if you come back with a list and you say, oh my gosh, these things absolutely must need to be done, and that's $500,000, and it's going to be $675 or $700 to do the master plan, I think you're assuming that I want to divert's not the right, reassign my master plan money into my repairs, when I might want to do both of those things and redeploy money from somewhere else, right? I mean, it's all prioritizations. And so I feel like I am flying a little blindly by saying, okay, yeah, let's reassign this money when I don't know what I'm reassigning it to, and I don't know what the value of that is, and I don't know what the priorities of that versus other things on our CIP. So can we get more information before we outright, and the thing is, we struggle to get good, we issue RFP, your staff report says we issued the RFP, and we kept it open for a month, and we got 4 good proposals, and we vetted them all, and then we went forward with 2 of them, and they were both great, and but okay, they're expensive. Well, okay, when has anything ever come in less than what we were expecting?
Let me chime in.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I tend to like where you're headed. Is there a way that we can keep these proposals alive, at least for a few months, while we get a better understanding of what these 5 or 6 emergency situations are? Maybe what we want to try to do is stay on plan to do the master scoping plan, but maybe we can't start it until next fiscal year. But going through the RFP process again and spending all that money over is ridiculous.
Plus, why would good bidders come back and bid again when they put all the work into
Yeah.
preparing a proposal, and we were like, oh, sorry, it's more than we thought?
We may need to make a decision about one of the providers, but we say we don't want to commence work until X date.
Yeah, I
So,
don't,
I'm sorry,
no, please.
okay. We did reach out to the proposers to ask if we can extend their proposals, because typically it's 90 days, and they all agreed to extend it for an additional 90 days. So
When does that take you to?
that takes us to, I think, the end of November.
Oh, that's not very
That
long.
180.
That was our,
Just not
what?
getting it?
No, that can't be right.
When did we get these proposals?
Yeah,
So then
you-
we would already be out the date.
No, yeah, that can't be right.
July 21st.
So in May, you put out the RFP, you kept it out there for a month. Yeah, well, ask them for the end of March, don't you think? Gives
Well,
us 4 months to pull ourselves together here and figure out what our trade-offs are.
No,
We need till the spring, I agree with you, Victoria, 100%. But but I'm concerned that you say that they agreed to extend it a second 90 days, and that would take us to the end of November, is that what I heard?
Yeah, I just need to verify.
Because then
That would be
why are
180
we
days, and
just
it
now
hasn't
hearing
been
about
180
this?
days since you issued it.
I'm sorry?
My question is, if we receive these proposals 90 or 120 days ago, why are we just now hearing about them?
Because we did go through the process of doing the reviews. We got 4 proposals. That was a
Okay.
big deal for
You
us.
vetted, yeah.
Going through the review, we did meet with the 2 highest ranked firms.
All right.
And then we really went back and forth on this and the fact that the cost was so high.
Well, I guess if November is the drop dead date, I would at least entertain the question, can you go back and get them to extend that to March? It may require some kind of it said, that drink again, that it may require a COLA or some kind of a cost increase. But, because if a bidder they locked in funds based upon a given price point.
And just to be honest, I think it will be tough to have them keep that, because then if they start in March, that's 9 months of work that they've got in front of them. I will reach out to all 4 of
Just
them.
a couple, just
we
just
may
a
have
couple
to-
months, just something so we can figure, you can scope out the magnitude of what, so the other thing is you say, okay, I'm going to redeploy this money from, $450,000 from here to there, and then if you come back with $1.5 million worth of projects, I'm like, well, I can't do that either. So, yeah, I think we have to understand the scope.
I'm sorry, Gary, if I can
Oh, yeah,
just
please.
say some, you will have more than $1.5 million worth of storm drain fixes.
Then what is the point of taking 450? I mean, that's my point. We're talking about 2 different things here. And I think we're cutting off our nose to spite our face by rejecting the master plan, because we need that, and we need to do these repairs. So, yeah, see, you kind of, thanks for making that point, because you're almost making it sound like, oh, well, there's 450 for the master plan, but I have 450 in repairs, so we'd be better off to spend the 450 in repairs. And just what you were listing, I'm like, there's no way that's 450, I wouldn't think, yeah. I'm sorry, I need more
Let me-
information before I reject work that people in good faith presented to us. Sorry, I can't.
It's, let's clarify one thing.
Wait, did I ask for public comment on this? Does anybody want to weigh in? No, okay.
Y'all look riveted, come on.
So,
I think what we really need to do here is, Steve needs to go back to the vendors, the 2 highest, and find out whether November is the drop dead date or whatever, and also at the same time, at least give us some ballpark, better definition of these hot projects that need to be addressed, because maybe, I hate to say it, and it's all going to be dependent upon raising incremental revenue, but we may have to utilize some of our reserves to protect ourselves from more fiscal concerns.
We might.
if I may, And I think,
Please.
I think the direction's pretty clear. Lisa, is it to you? Yes, say yes.
Yes, sorry, yes, I didn't know that was a question to me.
But just to be very clear, the recommendation to reject these proposals is independent of
Yes.
finding these new things. I know.
Say that again. Say it again.
Our recommendation to reject these proposals are independent. These bids are being rejected based on there's not enough money budgeted in the CIP for what's
correct.
come in.
And I'm sorry, one of the, there was the misconception that maybe was presented that we were just going to CCTV the system, and I needed to get out there that was not what was in the CIP document.
Correct.
Are they-
But the master plan proposal, I'm sorry, Don, for the master plan proposals, that sounds like they came in around 675-ish. But those are still valid and valid master plans, right?
So you consider them to be good proposals?
Yes.
And do you think you
That
can
work will
do
help
any
us.
better? Like, from a price standpoint? I mean, why?
No.
So then why would we,
Why would we reject them?
if we don't think we're going to be able to get it done for 450, then we just need to pull up our pants?
You're rejecting them based on what was budgeted. And
Okay, but what we're saying is if we
We're-
need the work done, let me come up with another
we hear that.
225.
We hear that.
Okay.
We hear that. I just want to make it very clear. It is unrelated to that we found some other problems, and I want the council to understand we have to address some of these problems.
That's what I'm saying, this
Very
is two
clear,
separate
very clear.
things.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's, I think it's clear, and we can.
Yep.
We can probably get some answers and come back quickly.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. We got it.
And those 4 or 5 projects, you may want to prioritize the ones that are, you would do first, second, and third.
Yep.
Understood.
Yep.
All right. Let's move on. Item number 13.
Do we get the motion to
13?
reject all bids?
We're not doing that.
We're not rejecting.
They're coming back to us.
We're punting.
Number,
So we're continuing this to the next meeting?
We can do it
Well,
to,
the direct staff to consider other, never mind, I'll be quiet.
we are,
This item's not coming back to us in this form. The
Yeah.
2 items are bifurcated.
yeah. They want us to ask for an extension of the master plan and to bring back a consideration of approving the master plan. So we can continue the item, or we can,
well, continuing it is you're continuing the
The rejection
proposal to
concept.
rejection, and that's
Yeah,
not
aren't we
what we want
rejecting
to
the
do.
bids and we're bringing back a different?
no.
No.
No, we don't want to reject the bids yet.
Okay, so then let's continue it.
This is no action.
We should continue the item if we set this to consider the bids, right? So we have,
I'm with you.
okay,
So the council did not necessarily want to reject the bids tonight. We have we already have a built-in extension till the end of November that these bids are good. We're going to ask for a little bit more time, but they would like this to bring back consideration of approval, and I would assume a money plan to pay for those.
okay.
It's
So
separately.
Well, which was in the item, that was number 2 of your recommendation, direct staff to consider other drainage projects with immediate need of remedy.
So
So
we
we're
have
giving you
time.
that direction.
we have time before these bids are going to
Yes,
expire?
yes.
Okay, then we can just continue it to a date uncertain.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All
Yes.
right, so we are continuing to a date uncertain. All right. Our last numbered item for the evening is number 13, an update on the Malaga Cove water intrusion situation.
You mind?
Steve's going to start.
Tonight's Steve night.
Yes. I'd like to think every night was Steve night, but
Okay.
good evening again. This is going to be a continuing event that we'll be having a discussion on, likely every council meeting. Just to present the latest update on this, to go back in time, there was a sinkhole that occurred on September 6th in the Malaga Lane alley portion. Staff worked to secure the area, and then working in conjunction with Geosyntec, that we've been working with them a lot on this area. They're familiar with the groundwater issues. We brought them out here to do some additional ground penetrating radar of that Malaga Lane area. When we did the examination of the sinkhole, we also identified additional subsurface voids within this, within Malaga Lane, and the recommendation is to basically address all 6 of these locations as soon as possible. They're all fairly close to the surface, they just haven't broken through yet. We've worked to obtain quotes to get the repair of the sinkhole and the voids, and if council is progressing with the rest of the information that City Manager Kalman is going to provide, we can have this work scheduled for later this week. Additionally, we do have Geosyntec representing, we have representation from Geosyntec in the audience that could also talk to the things that were found. Tamika, would you be able to bring up that other one there? Yes. My apologies, I meant to bring all this stuff up. So this first one here, this is the area of the subsurface void. So the ground penetrating radar was additionally done between Villa Chico and I think it was about 400 feet to the west. And in that area, we found that there was the identification of 6 additional areas. Could you go on to the next page, please? So the ground penetrating radar that was done, it's kind of difficult to see because there's so many different colors here, but there are 6 locations that were determined to have subsurface voids within approximately 4 feet of the surface. Our sinkhole that was identified, you can see is very close to the, should be backfilled ASAP. And then the next page is where, if you'd like to have more information about, we have Jonas from Geosyntec that could provide additional information. But this was the ground penetrating radar that goes from between 2 and 3 feet, 4 and 5 feet, and then 10 and 11 feet. And one thing I wanted to point out, not that it's exact, but the lower one there, you can see the darker areas where we believe that's where the
French drain.
yes, is located. But it's kind of interesting that there are certain areas that are blue, like something happened there. But anyway, so the recommendation is for us to go out there and take care of these voids. Toot sweet.
I have a question on this picture. So if the bottom picture is where the pipe is, and I think somewhere in the staff report you had talked about there being a blockage, where would that blockage be on there? Is it where that blue break is, or is it, do you know?
Sorry, I was looking for the laser pointer, but the blockage is...
Up and try to point, can you point?
Maybe get up there and point.
Oh, okay. The blockage that was identified is about 26 feet in from Villa Chico. So it's somewhere right around in this area here, because you can see that the length of this here is 200 feet, so I would say, not 400, but this is 200 feet. So if you're talking about 20 feet or so, it probably should extend somewhere back in here. But again, this, as you can hear from Geosyntec, that this is not an exact science, but that's where the blockage is, about 26 feet in.
The pipe's 200 feet?
Oh, the pipe itself goes, I think it's about 450 feet.
Oh, okay.
It continues further on. The purpose of this ground penetrating radar was not to determine the pipe condition, it was more to determine what's happening below grade there.
Right. So my question is, when we did the first round of ground penetrating radar, I'm sorry, were you done with your presentation?
Yes.
Okay. When we did the first round of ground penetrating radar, there were 2 objectives of that. One was to identify potential voids or cavities, and the other was to identify utilities. So if we scanned this same area 9 months ago, in probably January, we were told there were no voids, and now there are voids. So my question is, were these not picked up the first time, or are things changing so quickly that data from 9 months ago is no longer valid?
I'd actually like to turn that over to Jonas, if you wouldn't mind, to describe, because he's been here the whole time with that.
Okay.
Presenting to council.
Welcome, Jonas.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the chance to come present this information. Essentially, what we're doing with this analysis is we're looking at anomalies in density variations. This is not an intrusive method. It's meant to be a scan of the area, and it's relying on correlations. Like, if you have this level of density that is detected, and that's what you see in these color variation, then this is the interpreted status of that layer. You do see that French drain at that depth. It is not necessarily picking it as a pipe, it's picking it as material with different density than the surrounding area, right? Same thing for those surface anomalies. It's looking at the density of the surrounding areas and comparing it with the density that is reading in these particular areas. The initial scan that was done in that January, February timeframe of this year did show anomalies on the surface. It was presented in the March report that was provided to the city. However, the anomalies that were detected at that time, they were not interpreted to be close to the surface to be ready to break. Essentially, they were just saying, these are the anomalies that we see in these areas, but without an exact physical samples, we couldn't correlate them with that level of accuracy. Now we have that sinkhole that developed along Malaga Lane. We came out and rescan and recalibrated the readings based on the sinkhole that is manifested on the surface, and reissued these figures that you see that highlights the depth and the locations. And we identify these 5 locations along Malaga Lane that we believe that represent as sinkholes that have not breached to the surface, that are between 2 to 4 feet in depth. Now, there is a lot of water moving through here, and we have reason to believe that there is soil that is moving, as we have seen with the opening of the sinkhole. If these sinkholes were, or these anomalies were at slightly at depth below the detection limit, and the situation is evolving with the amount of water that is moving through it, the fine contents that is moving with the water, we can see them propagating to the surface. Hopefully that answers some of the questions that the council members have.
Thank you. Other questions from council?
So sorry, in the staff report, I guess, Steve question, I guess. I'm sorry. So go over what you're asking for again, because I thought that this was just an update item, but it sounds like you're actually asking us to approve something.
I'm going to jump in here.
Oh, sorry.
This is
Okay.
the tag team, the Steve and Carrie
Thank
tag
you.
team show. There's going to be a standard agenda, standing agenda item on this topic at council request, direction, and staff concurrence to provide progress reports on what we're doing. So if the council recalls, a working group of representatives of that area was put together. There's 5 or 6 people. We held our first meeting. Steve and I and Trevor attended to kind of work out a game plan on how to address this area. Some of the immediate things are in the staff report that came out of that the Malaga Manor area is working towards installing a storm drain system to capture that water on what was affectionately named Sandbag Lane, so we can get rid of the sandbags over there. And then on the sort of this area where the sinkhole and voids are, there's that failing storm drain or French drain that you talked about, we're meeting with somebody tomorrow to take a look at it, to consider try to run another camera through using some different technology to see where that is. And there's been some talk of newer technology that might be able to fix that drain, but we're not there yet. Our most immediate thing we want to do is backfill these voids and the sinkhole. So what the action that's being asked of the council tonight is declaring a local emergency to allow me sort of the flexibility and timing of being able to do this. We've been trying to get quotes on this for a couple of weeks. We finally got one quote, and what did it come in at?
$36,000.
$36,000. We did write into the local emergency up to $100,000. There's coordination efforts. There's working with Geosyntec. It will require us to constantly come back and give updates. Trevor, if you want to fill in anything of that. But, you know, I got an email from a resident today. When are you going to fix this? And if we can move forward tonight, we can, as Steve said, we can sign the agreement, move forward, and if there's any additional expenses, I'm not hamstrung and frozen from doing that. So get that road back up and protected.
I have a question for, I don't know if it's Steve or Carrie. In the Malaga Manor write-up, you indicate, I'm reading from your document, is considering the construction of a new French drain and storm tile drain that would capture the water and that leaves Malaga. Is that really going to be a French drain, or is that, because that would have holes in it, and if it's going to tie into some other drainage, help explain that to me.
Yeah, so interestingly, we found out recently that there was a private French drain installed around that 2545 Via Campesina, or Malaga Manor, that comes from Via Campesina, drains through the side in between two properties, and then out to Sandbag Lane.
Sandbag Lane.
And so that's been there for quite some time, unaware of. And so they're looking at replacing that or repairing that on their end, and then a combination of us working with them, putting an inlet in that alley, and then a storm drain down to Tejon Place.
Okay, so I was confused with the French drain at the top up there, and that was why I'm asking the question.
That was completely new, but yes, a French drain, because there is so much groundwater that they've been aware of for decades, that they've had one in place.
That's at the Malaga Manor?
Yes. Yeah, and Tamika, if you could go back to the first image, I can kind of point out a little bit better too.
We need more nicknames.
So this here's 2545 Via Campesina. I'm speculating on the exact dimensions, but we were told that there is a French drain that comes around here and goes through in between the two buildings. And right now, if you were to look out there, you can see that water does drain through this curve and then down the alley.
So that French drain is just dropping water between the two buildings?
Correct.
Into the earth?
Through the curb and out into
Through the
gutter.
curb?
Yeah. Did that answer the question? I didn't mean to elude the.
Well, it helps explain, but I was confused as to what the heck was going on with that comment. I'd never heard about a French drain up there, that's.
We learned about it Wednesday.
Yeah, that was surprising. So,
As far as the emergency declaration, I fully support that. I think we need to give Carrie all the support that we can to deal with this situation, and I have no problem with keeping a $100,000 number, and with the idea that if he can manage it to a lower number, he will.
Before we start deliberating, is there any public comment on this? Yes, would you please state your name for the record and for the minutes?
Thank you very much. Sylvia Doctorman, 2545 Via Campesina, the Malaga Cove Manor. I just want to clarify one point. The French drains that have been on our property for many years, this is the first time, starting last April, after those heavy rains in 2023, the first time we've had this passive water flowing through those drains continuously. We've had the drains for many years. There was some water intrusion, but not anything like this, nothing in the garage. The water is also coming into our garage and flowing out of our garage down into Sandbag Lane. So I just wanted to clarify that small point for everyone's information.
I have a clarification
Yep.
question for you. So when I drive up Sandbag Lane, in the curve,
You know what I think of that name? It's
We're going to have
dope.
Anthony make a sign.
there's a hole in the curb that the water's coming out from. Is that where the French drain is draining? No, well, you look at the building, and then the curb has a hole, and then there's a pipe inside the hole, and that's where the water's coming from,
Yeah.
that then drains down. Is that coming from the French drain, or is that the
That's
source?
the end of the French drain that you
Okay.
see there coming out of the curb.
Thank you.
And so that water comes out there, and then you'll see the smaller stream coming out of our garage, right next to it.
Okay, I'll have to check that out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else want to speak on this item? Are you Ms. Padilla? Yes. Okay. Lucy Padilla for the
Yes,
city
Lucy
clerk?
Padilla.